All right. Welcome, my friends, to this awesome special workshop. And my name is Justin Stellman from Extreme Health Radio. And I got my good friend, my pal, Dr. John Bergman, on the line as well. Let me bring him up. And we're going to be talking about the immune system. What's up, Doc?
Oh, buddy, a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
It's yeah. Well, I just finished let's just say a meeting about a potential TV show, which would be kind of cool. And
Oh,
we
wow.
shot a sizzle reel about 7, 8 months ago, and now it looks like it's coming to fruition, which is good because now the censorship is hitting big time on YouTube, big
Yes.
time.
Yes. Yeah. I want to let everybody know, for those that are big fans of my channel and your channel on YouTube, some major channel changes and updates are coming to the Google algorithm. Unfortunately, massive amounts of censorship happening. And it looks like they're going to start shutting down certain accounts that speak the truth, but like ours and like yours. And so I know you do a lot of that with vaccines and things. And so there's going to be massive changes coming soon. So what we're going to be doing is migrating all of our content and your content on YouTube over to the Extreme Health Academy, which is nice to have a good backup, right?
hmm That's it. That's You got to get the information out. I mean, soapboxes in a park will reach a few hundred.
Yep.
Okay, this will reach a few million.
Yeah,
So,
I know. I'm glad. I'm so glad. So, what we're going to be doing today is talking about the immune system. And in my opinion, the immune system is numero uno when it comes to health. So, they don't like to mention or they don't like to have other people say there are cures to disease. But the only real cure, or should I say, solution to cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's disease, dementia, every chronic degenerative illness in the world, there's a cure to it. And the cure is a healthy, strong immune system. Right, Doc?
the it's kind of cool because disease doesn't really exist. I mean, if you look at for 100 years, they haven't identified the pathogen that causes cancer. So there's no virus, fungus, bacteria identified. There's no causative factor of most diseases, but they
Mm-hmm.
do know the therapies for them. So that's just insane to begin with. So disease really isn't existing, at least 97% of them. It's really an adaptation to a toxic, deficient environment. It's an immune system expression.
Mm-hmm.
So the immune system is how you adapt and thrive on the planet. So that is the key.
One of my mentors that I listen to a lot, his name's Morley Robbins, and he says there is no disease. There's metabolic dysfunction based on mineral dysregulation, but there's no such thing as disease. These labels are just some label that the doctor gives you, but it's all based on something that's happening according to minerals, according to him.
Absolutely. One of the videos I like, I do a lot of videos.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I like most of them, but this one, the Delusion of Diagnosis, was amazing because figure 60% of Americans have a chronic illness or disease they'll never recover from.
Uh-huh.
And when you look at the official diagnosis, like what is causing this, medically, the official is unknown. It's idiopathic, and that's most diseases.
Idiopathic and unknown. That's crazy,
Yeah,
isn't it? Yeah,
it's
crazy.
nuts. So, you wouldn't bring your car to a guy that says, I don't know what's wrong with it, but I got a bunch of therapies.
Yeah.
That's, yeah, no, no,
Right.
no.
It-
Let's strengthen the immune system, and the adaptation, which was formerly known as a disease, goes away.
So I brought up some stats, and this is like, so we're spending $1 trillion in America, $1 trillion per year on healthcare, which in my opinion is not healthcare, it's disease management, but it's a $1 trillion a year. So check out some of these stats, Doc. The average cost of a severe heart attack is $760,000. So if you have a heart attack, almost $1 million. The average cost of cancer drugs are between $10,000 and $30,000 per month. The estimated
Wow.
lifetime cost incurred by an older individual living with a stroke is $100,000. And a recent study found that in the last 5 years of life, the cost of a person with dementia, on average, totals more than $287,000, and this was in 2010. Crazy. And people diagnosed with diabetes incur an average medical expenditure of $13,000 per year, of which 7,900 is attributed to diabetes directly. And the overall cost of asthma treatment get this, is $18 billion per year, with the average person spending $3,000 to $7,000 in treatments.
Wow.
It's crazy. And nursing homes can cost $227 per day or $6,900 per month. Now, that's just if you just live like everyone else is living, that's what you have to look forward to. It's crazy.
So the current system with the censorship, you're suppressing one thought process and philosophy, completely suppressing one philosophy, and going on the symptom drug paradigm of the reductionist theory that you are a bunch of parts, that you have a pulmonologist, psychiatrist, and endocrinologist, when in reality, there is no way that you could separate one aspect of the body from another aspect of the body. You got to look at the whole thing. And so now they're jumping on the bandwagon to say, oh, we're holistic. We look at the whole body. Gee, what a concept. Because working on this reductionist thinking, 54% of our children have a chronic illness or disease that they will never recover from. And 60% of adults in America have a chronic illness or disease they'll never recover from. Wow. That's a country that's done.
Yeah, and it's crazy too when you look at other stats. Like it used to be colorectal cancer used to be 1 in I think 78 in the early 1900s, and now it's 1 in 3 of all cancers. 1 in 3 people were diagnosed. 1 in 3 women prior to 1960 would get cancer, and 1 in 2 men. And now after 1960, it's 1 in 2 across the board being diagnosed with cancer. So if you're living around, you have a 50% chance of a diagnosis. I mean, obviously we're not winning this war that President Nixon touted. Not even close.
A war against an adaptation, because it's not a war against cancer. It's a war against your body adapting to a toxic, deficient lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And then when Nixon was in charge, I mean, he got us off the gold standard, which was nuts. So our currency isn't worth anything. But also he was promoting low fat, high carbohydrate diet. You had the food pyramid with nothing but the grains on the bottom. Wow. I mean, it was insane. And they know that now that the recommendations they were giving of the low fat diet it caused a huge amount of illnesses.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy. Look at some of these other stats. I mean, they keep coming in. We spend $1 trillion a year in healthcare, and we are the world's leader in heart disease and prostate cancer and breast cancer and colorectal cancer and diabetes. And now the American Cancer Society says that 1 in every 2.5 individuals will develop some sort of invasive cancer during their lifetime, and half of them will die from it. And it's the leading cause of death in children under the age of 10. And even though we spend $100 billion a year on cancer treatment, research and the overall survival rate for cancer is no better than it was 50 to 100 years ago. And there's some recent studies coming out of Australia that it's 2.3% effectiveness rate with chemotherapy. I mean, it's just nuts. It's crazy.
Hey, can you send me the data? Email me at the DRB email.
Sure.
I'm going to do a talk this Tuesday on that, because people, organic's so expensive. But it's a hell of a lot cheaper than, the alternative of having your body adapt to a poison.
Yeah, and it's crazy because with our changing environment, we're radically altering our environment, from non-native EMF to toxic blue lights that's affecting our mitochondria to dirty electricity. There's Wi-Fi everywhere that's opening up the voltage-gated calcium ion channels of the cell, flooding intracellular matrix with 1,000 times more calcium. There's so much environmental pollution and toxin, and in generations past, our ancestors didn't die of these things. They didn't succumb to these things. It's our environment's changing rapidly, isn't it?
Yep, it's that immune system. It's adapting to an extremely toxic environment.
So, what are some things that we can talk about that alter immune system function? And let's get into what the immune system is, how it's affected by these environmental toxins, and maybe dive deep a little bit in there so people can get a gauge on that.
When you look at the best immunologist on the planet, I'm talking Stanford, Harvard, And I quoted them on our immunology talk. They say they don't know how the immune system works. Okay, there's no way to measure it. There's no way to quantify it, because in a reductionist thinking, and this is how we divided the body up into gastroenterology, pulmonology, everything else. We have specialists for that area, but each organ system has to function with another organ system, and based on its environmental stimulus, it responds, and that's the immune system. So your immune system, when you break a cell, histamines are released, and that draws, it'll vasoconstrict or shut down the blood vessels first, then it'll vasodilate, and as cells all start to heal. Nobody knows how to measure that effectiveness. In fact, one of the quotes from the chair from Stanford, they know there's a lot of different parts and a lot of different chemicals, but they don't know how to measure it, if it's working or if it's not working, because the entire system is based on a symptom therapy protocol, where if you have a fever or cough or increased mucus or diarrhea, they're going to give you a medication to suppress that. And not only does that not make you healthy, it's suppressing your immune system response on something the greatest immunologist on the planet can't measure. The immune system is going to function based on 3 stressors: physical, chemical, and emotional. And if you have physical, chemical, or emotional stress, your resistance to disease will be diminished, and you're going to be more predisposed to it. The guy, I brought him up on a couple of talks where he had €100,000 reward for anyone that could prove that the measles virus has been identified and that the measles virus actually causes measles. He won in court. They haven't been able to identify the measles. But here, if you look at the thought process of most doctors and most people on the street, they're thinking, well, yeah, you see it in a book. And what Stephen Lanka came up with was, on an electron microscope, you can't, if a virus hasn't been isolated, you can't take a picture of it. So what these virologists are doing on an electron microscope, they're assembling little pictures together to see what they think is the virus. And that's not really identifying the virus, because viruses aren't even alive. They're well-organized molecular parasites that require the host DNA. Okay, so it's literally using parts of the host, whether it's a DNA or RNA virus, it uses parts of the host in order to reproduce itself. So if it's using that DNA to reproduce itself, you can see how viruses are going to change. And 45% of your DNA is viral. So viruses are really a communication to the environment. And a lot of the, cultural authority medical doctors today are saying that viruses are attacking us. It's like Sarah, my wife, came down with an illness. She got sick as a dog 2 days ago. But if you look at the last 3 weeks, she's been in New York, had a stressful event at her family. She's been traveling all the time. Her immune system is weak. And we're eating the same food. I'm teaching and she's resting. And she ends up getting sick and I don't. We both have the same viruses on us. So what caused her body to develop coughing, sneezing, a temperature, diarrhea? All of those are immune system responses in how the body recognizes a virus, processes a virus, and if that virus is using her DNA to replicate, how she can recognize and develop a humoral and cellular immune system response. So she is now protected from that virus for the rest of her life, or any similar virus. So this is a brilliant response by the body, but there's no way to actually measure it.
Yeah, so the immune system is everywhere, right? It's, people want to say, especially in the alternative health world, that 80% of it is in your gut, but it's really ubiquitous, right? It's in the white blood cells, it's in the cellular matrix, it's in your bone marrow, it's in your gut. It's really a systemic overall system, right, that works together holistically against these viruses that we have inside of us all the time. Is that kind of how it works?
Inside, on us, around us. It's kind of like the midichlorians from Star Wars. Okay.
Right.
I mean, if you just take a little hunk of skin, I mean, what kind of bacteria and viruses do I have? I mean, I've got the bacteria here that could cause gangrene.
Uh-huh.
All I have to do is compromise blood supply or nerve supply, and it'll develop. I have a staph epididymis,
Hmm.
which protects me from Staph aureus or other pathogenic things. So, I mean, you have a whole immune system utilizing the bacteria, viruses, and funguses on your skin to protect that, let alone the species inside of the gut that you should have 30,000 different species inside of your intestinal tract, which is supposedly 80% of your immune system.
I heard a sort of rather horrific stat a while ago about that, and they were talking about that exactly what you just said. And we've lost 70% of our gut flora over the last 200 years. They were saying that now we're down to, I forget what the number of actually different strains are, but we've lost 70% of what that gut is supposed to be. And you look at immune system compromise right there, a lack of gut bacteria is going to be massive.
So let's say you take a bowl of Cheerios. You mix a little bit of milk in there, okay, and the kid has a bowl of strawberries with it. Now, this you could see, healthy breakfast, most important meal a day is how it's advertised. Except those Cheerios are soaked in glyphosate, which damages the gut flora. The milk contains bovine growth hormone, which we can't sell in other countries, okay, like Europe, because it's going to negatively affect how his hormonal system communicates. And the strawberries, unless they're organic, also have a pesticide and an herbicide on top of it and a preservative, so it delays the degradation by bacteria or mold. So this kid is going to eat this, and then it's going to get in his intestinal tract, and it's going to wipe out the normal gut flora. And I mean, I see this on a commercial, and I'm going, "Oh my God, what are they doing to that child?
Right.
You know, they're killing him." If you look at historically, appendicitis, okay, no one ever had any problem with appendixes until they started to chlorinate the water.
Uh-huh.
And the chlorine in the water destroyed the gut flora, caused the pancreas, which is the appendix, which is a reservoir for healthy bacteria, that once you go through a bout of diarrhea, the appendix is going to repopulate the intestinal tract with healthy bacteria. But if you take something that's so damaging to the gut flora, it can damage the appendix, and that's why appendixes were inflamed and burst and everything else. And now we have glyphosates in the water, air, everywhere, which is also destroying it. This is why number one immune system recommendation: get fermented foods from a variety of sources. Get organic produce, juice organic produce. You're going to get some healthy bacteria from there, and ferment your own foods.
Yeah, it's crazy, this glyphosate going around. It's causing mineral dysregulation, a lack of magnesium. It's causing iron overload. It's causing the cells to be starved from oxygen. It's crazy what glyphosate does, and unfortunately, it's in anything that's sort of like enriched flour, enriched wheat. All that stuff is going to be sprayed with glyphosate, isn't it? It's crazy.
Yep, any non-organic grain, you can pretty much guarantee it's glyphosate.
So, Doc, check this out. Check out what Stephanie Seneff said on our show a while back. You probably have already heard her say this, but she was talking about glyphosate, and she was saying that glyphosate is becoming more and more ubiquitous, in our environment. And she was saying that 10% of fuel is made from corn, ethanol, and that corn is sprayed with glyphosate. So now she's thinking that glyphosate is actually in the air that we're breathing. If you live near a freeway, a road, if you live near an airport of some kind, you're going to be breathing glyphosate now. I mean, it's just everywhere.
It's kind of like there's a term the FDA uses, generally recognized as safe. It's called the GRAS terminology.
Oh, gosh.
And when they developed a corn plant whose pollen was an insecticide, it actually destroyed the guts of insects. So, but they said, look, dude, we're not going to feed it to humans. We're just going to feed it to cows.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So the theory was that it was going to use less pesticides. The cows ate it. It survived the cow's digestion, embedded in the meat, survived the cooking process, been eaten by moms, and now they're finding it in umbilical cords in children.
Wow.
And it's designed to destroy the guts of insects. Now, so this is something that's a big whoops. Glyphosates, greatest thing in the world, genetically modified, fantastic. Mankind has mastered nature. And now, 20 years later, we're going, oh my God, look at the cancer belt on either side of the Mississippi. Look at I mean, multiple lawsuits now on glyphosates. And it's polluting the rivers, waters, air, everything. And it's like the vaccination thing. One vaccine is really, really good. 72 vaccines are just the same as one. I mean, there's no thought process to this. It's like shoot, then aim.
Yeah.
They're trying this stuff on an immune system and they don't know how it works. We're just seeing a massive rise of chronic illness and diseases that's negatively affecting our entire country, that is literally going to wipe out our economic base. They're driving, the current system is driving 80 miles an hour into a block wall, and they can either stop, turn, there's a lot of options there, but they're still driving fast into the wall.
I mean, you look at that stat that I was sharing earlier, it was like $1 trillion a year in healthcare, which is basically disease management, like I said, and profit for pharmaceutical drugs for them to sell their companies. But, look at the autism rates that are just skyrocketing now. And now it's in 2030, it's supposed to be 1 out of every 2 children have autism. And like you said, like it's bankrupting our nation, and people don't know what to do. They don't know how to strengthen their immune system. And this is what it really comes down to, right? We have to make some sort of change in our environment and our personal living to be able to deal with all these onslaughts.
The only way to change belief system, and that's what it really requires, is belief systems are a factor of what you've learned and what you're being taught. It's education systems like the Extreme Health Academy, like all the stuff I do on YouTube, reading a book. I mean, getting second opinions from different professions. Figure in the 1900s, we had homeopaths, naturopaths, medical doctors, chiropractors. They were all at an equal footing. The old adage was, if you go to a medical doctor, you'll die of the therapy before the disease. You go to the homeopath, you'll die of the disease before you die of the therapy. It was like a common joke,
right?
Except this information now is being censored because of the money. I mean, just in the last 2 weeks ago, you could type in Bergman and arthritis or Bergman and vaccines, and you'd see 10 of our videos. You do that as of last week, and we're on like the 3rd page. I mean, it's that quick. And the first 2 pages are, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, Hoag Hospital. I mean, all of these people that are promoting the symptom drug therapy. So it's really, people have to take charge of their health by looking at not alternative, but non-mainstream areas. This is why Extreme Health Academy, why I'm putting all of my videos on here, because pretty soon, and I'm talking in the next couple of months, there isn't going to be a YouTube that's going to allow us to present our material.
Yeah, it's crazy. If you go on certain YouTube channels and you look underneath now, there'll be a little snippet. And if you do let's say you do a video on vaccines or something, there'll be a little snippet underneath it saying, this is what vaccines are really all about. And it sends you to Wikipedia to sort of debunk your video to make sure the listener gets the accurate information. So they put a little snippet underneath the video to try to, it's this war on knowledge that's happening in our current society. And now I just read an article yesterday, they're going after homeopathics. So they're trying to make that illegal, I think, starting in California. I don't know what it is. What's up with California? We're just like the worst state when it comes to this crazy health freedom stuff.
It's probably one of the most, the pharmaceutical industry has the majority of legislatures in their pocket in California.
Yeah.
And they know if they sink all their money in this state instead of little states like Idaho or Nebraska, I mean, this one, you sink all your money in advertisement to buy the Congress, then you can get laws passed, and then that'll have a bigger impact in the country. So financially, it makes more sense.
Yeah, it does. From a business perspective, if you're, not operating with a full, clear mind, like I believe they are not, it makes sense. Right? It's funny.
Yeah.
There's a quote that kind of it really rung true to me years ago when I first got into natural health, and it was basically the idea of like, look around. If you guys are watching this, look at your brothers and sisters, look at your parents, and look at the other generations of people who are 10, 20, 30 years ahead of you in your family line. And the quote goes, if you want what everybody else has, just keep doing what everybody else is doing. But if you want something different, you must do something different every single day. And now it's getting to the point now where self-care, this biohacking and this changing our environment is becoming not just a thing where it's something that we want to do to improve ourselves, but it's becoming something that we just have to do on the defensive just to stay afloat and to stay healthy. It's amazing.
That I read a cool article on endogenous pharmacotherapy.
Oh.
Endogenous means you produce it, and you produce the pharmacy that your body requires in the right dose at the right time, with no side effects, toxic effects. So the journals, there's still some journals that aren't bought off by the pharmaceutical industry.
Uh-huh.
And it's exciting. I mean, we're seeing areas that are being researched, like the cerebellum can control the frontal lobe. This means the frontal lobe is anxiety, stress, depression, schizophrenia, that you can literally have a neuroplasticity where you can regenerate parts of the brain. I mean, that's exciting. But you don't want to give, the research that's bought and paid for, like giving an antidepressant that causes suicide, suicidal thoughts, and suicidality. That is still the promoted therapy for anxiety, stress, and depression. It's the body, humans taking back their health. And what I'll tell my patients, I'll say, well, look at the health of your great-grandparents. Okay, they all lived over 80, and they say, yeah, they did. Unless they died in the war, okay, the great-grandparents are living over 80.
Right.
Okay, and I'll say, what kind of vaccines did they get? Well, maybe smallpox, if anything. Okay. What kind of diet did they have? Oh, it was nothing but whole food, organic, plant-based, because meat was expensive, and do what they were doing. And we have a good plan. The body is designed to live to 120 years. We just have to look at the three stressors that we're exposed to: the physical, chemical, and emotional stress. If, like Sarah coming down with a cold, I want her to have a fever. Mm-hmm. I'm giving her heat generating herbs. Okay. I'm giving her mountain oregano tea. I literally took oregano leaves, broke them up, and made her tea out of it. Wow. I'm having her breathe in that steam so it helps slow the replication of a pathogen and strengthen her immune system. And 3 days later, I mean, she's like 90% better. But I'm not going to give her an Advil or a Motrin to chemically reduce her fever, which is actually a healthy immune system response.
Yeah, it's crazy, and people don't think about what these things do long term, like these pharmaceutical drugs and these chemicals, these cocktails that people are taking. And what's even more scarier, Doc, is like they don't even know, they haven't even done testing to test even over-the-counter drugs and pharmaceuticals to test, like the average person's on 3 to 5 medications. So if you add those together and figure out all the chemicals that are in each of those, they don't even know how they respond to each other. So it's a black hole there.
But it's kind of convenient, because if you're developing a product, okay, and this product, and common sense says that if you give one therapy to 10 people, are going to have the exact same response. Common sense says no. But what the medical system does is they take the average response, and if it's more than 20%, they can say, look, this drug is for headaches or menstrual. Some side effects may be dizziness, nausea, vomiting, like the commercials say. Uh-huh. But they're mainly only checking one, even though it has multiple different effects. When you start adding 2 drugs, that exponential unknown effects. Mm-hmm. And that's why when you're testing like vaccines, you're only testing the response to that pathogen. It's like 30 years ago in Guinea-Bissau, they were doing experiments on DPT vaccine. Well, not experiments. They vaccinated villages, and then they left. They came back 30 years later, and just on an off chance, they decided to see the ones that they did vaccinate, the ones that they didn't vaccinate. And there was between a 5 and a 10-fold increase in death from other diseases other than diphtheria, pertussis, and tetanus, because it altered the immune system. And no one even thought about checking to see if there was another response other than tetanus, pertussis, and diphtheria. Oh, did this negatively affect any other aspect? I mean, common sense would say, holy moly, of course, you're mixing 3 pathogens, injecting it into a body. How does that body respond to malaria or sleep or more colds, more asthma, more allergies? Does it affect the body in different ways? Mm-hmm. And now they're saying, look, absolutely, we got hard data that one shot affected a population and had between a 5 and a 10-fold increase in death from other means.
Wow.
And nobody knows what 2 vaccines are going to do, let alone 72 vaccines. And then you're on the asthma medications, the allergies, the Advil. That's a chemical assault. So we got to take a step back and look at our bodies, how it actually works.
Yeah, it's a chemical nightmare. Are you familiar with what's going on in Samoa right now? Have you heard that news?
Yeah. And if you look back and to do a whole talk on it, I just didn't have a chance because I was speaking in Palm Springs this past weekend. Uh-huh. But back in the 70s, they knew that the majority of Samoans were nutrient deficient, mm-hmm. particularly vitamin A. And when you put a contagious pathogen in an area that has extreme nutrient deficiencies, that's going to run rampant through there. And so now the doctors are starting to treat with vitamin A, and they're seeing a reduction in the studies in Africa showed a 90% reduction in death rates. Wow. So it's not that the measles is making a comeback, that they're looking for the patient 1, the patient 0 that brought it to us. So we got to be afraid of the pathogen.
Right.
No.
Right.
Why were there 1,000 cases of measles in America over 8 months and nobody died? Why were there 1,000 cases in Samoa that had a 30 to 40% death rate in some areas? Mm-hmm. Okay, it's the same virus, same species. What's different about the person? Mm. Then 1963, before the measles vaccine, there were 4 million cases on average every year.
Wow.
4 million kids in 1958, in 1959, in 1960. This is why they say if you're born before 1960, you're immune to measles. You got it and recovered, and you have a lifetime immunity. And now, just because of the marketing and the media, you're advertising it.
Oh my God, it's crazy. And when you stack that on top of like environmental toxins that we're being exposed to, like, there's 60,000 new chemicals introduced into our environment since 1960, and there's 84,000 chemicals just in commerce at any given time. That's not counting chemtrails, that's not counting tire dust, chemicals from all the different fire retardant mattresses and our carpets. I mean, our immune system has to work so hard today just to be able to fight off this stuff, because it's like a teeter-totter, right? It's like a constant war between the pathogens and viruses that are living inside of us and our immune system. And whenever you put something like a vaccine in someone, then all of a sudden the immune system has to give 30, 40, 50, 80% of its job to deal with that. And then you have other things starting to happen as well. And so it becomes this onslaught that people just can't deal with.
It really is. It's triggering. It's the majority of vaccines trigger a Th2 or an inflammatory response. And this is why we're seeing a massive rise in inflammatory diseases. You're talking encephalitis. That's the big one. There goes with, autism, anxiety, stress, depression. But inflammatory bowel disease in 7 and 8 year olds, that's impossible. Inflammatory sinuses, lungs. So you're looking at asthma, allergies, bronchitis. I mean, all of these inflammatory diseases are based on something stimulating the immune system to cause an inflammatory response. Now, inflammation is a healing process of the body. That's how the body regenerates tissue. But how does the medical world treat inflammation? Instead of giving antioxidants to make inflammation more effective, they give anti-inflammatories. which weaken the immune system, okay, and literally damage the kidneys and damage tissue, damage joints, but it makes the person's symptoms decrease.
And that's really what the medical model is, right? It's pure just symptom management. That's why they don't really talk about cures much. They talk about treatment. It's just doing what they can to either artificially raise or lower arbitrary numbers like blood pressure or cholesterol. These are arbitrary numbers, or to get rid of a symptom, and then just kind of keep you hanging on, going to the doctor your whole life to keep taking these drugs. That's the approach. I mean, from an economic perspective, it's genius, right? It's genius.
Yeah, if you didn't have ethics, morals, and you weren't human, it wouldn't matter. I mean, man. The ASPCA, if they were actually paying attention to humans, they'd be going after and arresting doctors.
Yeah, it's crazy. They would be, right?
The system is broken, but luckily the system cannot afford to support itself. We have a thing called a welfare society, which means that we take care of our older people or people that can't work. And so we need a massive influx of young people paying into the system and things so older people can draw out on this. But like you described, with the massive increase in costs that's not, insurance is not going to cover those costs. The number one cause of bankruptcies in America today is medical care. And these people have insurance. So they got health insurance. It's not the Obama that they don't have enough Obamacare, but it's literally wiping them out. We got this whole system built where we have these older people that may be drawing on Social Security. Now we have all these younger kids, 1 in 28 according to the official numbers, but in a couple more years it's going to be 1 in 2 with autism, and that's 96% of those can't work. So these are going to be a massive influx of people that were supposed to be paying into the economic system that are now going to be drawing on it. And they just changed the ability for a kid to be on insurance till I think it's 27 now. So now we're saying that anybody that's 27 can still be on their parents' insurance because there's no solution. There's no solution for this stuff other than changing the health of our population so we can get people to work to pay into the system. So that's what I tell people. I mean, if you're planning on your income being from Social Security, it's not going to be there. Okay, this is why at one of the conferences, there was a number of different offices, and insurance payments to doctors are getting less and less and less because the insurance companies are running out of money. The whole point of an insurance company is people that don't need the care pay into the care. People that are drawing the care are drawing away from that fund. If you have more people drawing away from the fund than putting in, the fund depletes. Duh.
Shocker.
Yeah. So it's exciting, but the solutions are so simple. I mean, it can't be that you just have to, sleep healthy, have 3 bowel movements a day, 2 to 3 bowel movements a day, have a positive mental attitude, eat a plant-based organic lifestyle. Look at the physical, chemical, and emotional stress. Get your nervous system checked. Make sure you're not in a sympathetic or stress state. All of these things addressing the underlying cause and the health and your body's ability to adapt to the environmental stressors. You can't change some of the chemicals and toxins and exposure that you're in because we have to, drive. We have to, live. We have to make a living and, do certain things that are going to be toxins. But if you do more things to generate tissue, the amount of tissue damage is going to be less and less. And so you will have health.
It's interesting, Doc, because I was reading something recently and they were talking about the stress in America today versus what life and lifestyles were like in the late 1800s. And it was really fascinating because they were saying, and I don't know really how they could actually quantify this. I don't know how you could actually know this, but they were saying, because we talk a lot about stress inside the Extreme Health Academy, and we have a 3 stressors course as a foundation course when members join. But they were saying in this article that there is more stress today. A person experiences more stress in one day than someone in the late 1800s did their entire life. That is just crazy amount of stress.
Well, I know when I was in school, okay, I was born in 1960, so figure I'm in grade school, 65, first grade, 66, 67. We had drills every Friday, or the first Friday of every month, or the last Friday. I think it was the first or last. The air raid sirens would go off, and we would duck and cover. We would do drills where you duck and hide and put your hands over in case the nuclear attack happened. the deaths, honest to God, this was every month.
Wow.
We had these drills. Okay, then, those deaths are amazing. They'll stop radiation. They'll stop everything. Okay?
Everything. Oh my goodness.
So, but so people could say those were stressors. And then I think everybody has it. It's just the emotional stress, how we were living away from our roots. Figure your physiology, the genomic makeup of your physiology, like how you're built to adapt, hasn't changed in around 40,000 years. So the closer stuff that we do that formed our genome, that means that eating a plant-based diet, exercising or walking every day, okay, having an appreciation for others, knowing that you have a connection with family or with your community or with your tribe. Okay, so you need that social interaction. You need the nutrients that your body can regenerate and break down, and it knows what the heck it is. Hydrolyzed vegetable oil, the body doesn't know what the heck to do with that.
No.
Okay, I know it must be a pathogen. Let's create an inflammatory response.
Right.
So all the packaged and preserving foods are toxic. But in the 1870s, unless you were recovering from a wound from the Civil War, they were all eating organic. They all had to walk everywhere. They didn't have EMFs, and they could go to water unless their outhouse was next to the well where cholera developed. Okay, they could go to water. That was pretty good.
Yeah. It's fascinating too, because we talk about this on our radio show, and that is a lack of connection is itself a stressor. And you think about a person is no longer connected to who they really are. They don't know who they are, why they're here, or what their purpose or mission is. They're disconnected from other people, their family and friends, through this technological society. They're disconnected from God. They're disconnected from nature, and they're disconnected from the environment. And all of this disconnection is creating a system inside of our bodies that doesn't really have a way of regulating itself, right? Like we can't recalibrate and understand this, that we are part of something bigger, even if it's just a lineage and a family line, that we're a part of something bigger than ourselves. And there's a connection there because we're so disconnected because probably of technology. But that's a real issue, I would imagine, on the immune system, because that's a stressor.
I wish you could see what we do with our neurodamaged kids, and that's just about everyone that's been vaccinated. Okay, that's gone through the vaccine process. I'll tell the parents to take the kid down, and figure these kids are self-stimming behavior. They're got scars and everything from them banging their head. I'll say take them to the beach, get their shoes off, so you get that stimulus going up. I'll say lay them in the warm sand and cover their legs with sand so they have a different stimulus. They're going to be next to the ocean, so you can get out of that like psychotic, inwardly destructive pattern. There's a new series out that's just mind-blowingly. It's like driving by a traffic accident, seeing a bloody sheet, not wanting to look, but you have to look. Okay, it's called Atypical, and it's supposed to be about this autistic kid and the challenges the families are going through it. This is not an autistic kid. I mean, not anything like I've ever seen. He's got a job, a girlfriend, he can interact. And one of the things that they show about autism is they show this group of 8 autistic kids around. One facilitator, who's a counselor, asks the autistic kids a question, and they raise their hand to answer. And I've told this to every autistic parent I've seen over the last couple of weeks. And I'll say, and when I say they all raise their hand, they laugh and giggle. They say, no, I can't believe that.
Wow.
Because they've never seen it, because that is not autism. Autism is nonverbal, non-communicative. Okay, in the extreme. I mean, you can relearn I mean, not every autistic kid is wearing a helmet, sitting in a stroller, pooping on themselves, banging their head. But by God, that's a percentage of them. 96% will never have a job. This is a completely distorted view of autism, because it's now, you have neurotypical and you have atypical. Atypical is now going to be the norm, because half of the kids are going to be atypical. And so we have to make it socially acceptable to have this pathology accepted by the general public, so they don't question it. In fact, hey, I got a really cool quote from this one guy. God, I hope I can find, because this is like a brilliant quote that's pertinent. To no, I don't think I got it. Oh, bummer. But because I was looking up here it is. This was from 1938, The Lancet, medical journal. Compulsory vaccination has once had the suffrage of the nation, now has hardly a serious supporter. We are ashamed to jettison the idea completely, and perhaps afraid that if we did, the accident of some future epidemic might put us in the wrong. We prefer to let compulsory vaccination die a natural death, and are relieved that the general public is not curious enough to demand an inquest.
Wow. Who said that?
That was Dr. Charles O'Kell.
Really? What a powerful quote, right?
I know, 1938, because they wanted to force vaccinations, and they thought, holy shit, we're seeing a lot of damage. Wow. Now they're seeing the damage, but they're just going to say, hey, let's just force everyone, and it's for the greater good. Suck it up. These are things that people went to jail for, to fight for their kids, to have the ability to raise them drug-free, healthy diet, and those are no longer choices. And if a medical doctor is actually looking into it, they're not given the choice of deciding on the care. It's already dictated by a governing authority, not by science.
So, Doc, you and I have a similar approach and sort of mindset and foundational worldview when it comes to the immune system, and not just that, but like chronic degenerative diseases. And that is like, there's a lot of talk with people out there that sort of, and we'll do some of this too, because there's multiple layers of healing and overcoming from not just a cold and flu, but like cancers and other diseases like that, more serious diseases. So there's multiple layers of sort of dealing with them. But what you and I are very similar in our approach, and that is to build a foundation of your life that is one that supports health and one that actually makes you healthier instead of sicker. Because you could take all the herbs and you could take all the supplements and you could do all the right things when it comes to diet and nutrition that you like and still not overcome something, or maybe a flu will last 3 or 4 weeks when it could normally last 3 or 4 days. So I don't like this idea of just throwing herbs and doing things like that, because these sort of systemic, chronic, degenerative diseases require much more a change in lifestyle, right? It's not just throwing an herb at something. And I like that you're the same way in that regard.
Yeah, it would be so simple to not, what do I take for high blood pressure?
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of things, and I had discussions last week because we were back east in Rochester, and every relative is a medical doctor. And so this one doctor, we're sitting in a room, all the kids are playing in one room, and we got 4 doctors in another room. One chiropractor, me, and 3 medical doctors. Wow. And this one doctor says, I found a great way to control my high blood pressure. I've been taking garlic. And I looked at him and I said, oh, garlic deficiency syndrome. I've heard of that. Yes. And they all looked at me with this expression like, is it true? Is there garlic deficiency? I mean, it was just like so bizarre. Wow. And I couldn't tell them that the body is self-healing and self-regulating because their brains weren't ready to accept that. They're so in the medical system that whatever the body produces, we can give you a chemical to alter that physiology into what they think is normal. The outside-in therapy is infecting America, where I have a symptom, what's the solution? We change that, and this is where the healthcare is really going. I have a symptom. Why is my body giving this? What stressor am I adapting to?
Mm-hmm.
Then you deal with the underlying stressor, not the one, supposed disease.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you deal with the real stressors that causes your body to adapt. That's why I love you and Kate. I mean, plus you guys are just cool.
Well, thank
You're
you,
fun to
Doc.
hang out with.
Yeah.
But our philosophy blends because there are things you could take. I mean, you do olive oil, healthy fats, avocados, healthy organic plant-based. There's a lot of things you can do, but you're not taking that avocado with sea salt, it because you're what your body needs to adapt to the environment.
Mm-hmm. So here's something that's just a perfect sort of example of what you're saying. In the same case, like someone could take something that's classically used for high blood pressure, and that's European mistletoe, and garlic and cayenne pepper and these types of things for blood pressure. But you're not deficient in European mistletoe, right? Just like someone's not deficient in garlic. But these things do work effectively well. And I was reading an article last week that was talking about heavy metals and their relationship to high blood pressure. And they were saying specifically the heavy metal cadmium. Cadmium has a direct correlation to poisoning the system and causing dirty blood that's causing blood pressure to rise. So there's a really good example of an environmental poison fixing the chemical stressor that if you throw all the mistletoe at it, sure, you can change your numbers, but you got to get rid of the stressors, right?
Okay. We got the coolest thing. At the Mexico clinic, we have a live blood cell analysis.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we had this canola farmer. Okay, so you're talking rapeseed from Canada that's using the full-on, glyphosate, genetically modified seeds. Mm-hmm. He comes down, his blood, instead of being really pretty red blood cells floating around, they're stuck together in what's called the rouleau coin formation. And when we see somebody under stress, and this could be physical, chemical, or emotional stress, it's like little worms everywhere. Now, that means that the blood doesn't have the surface area to carry the oxygen or carbon dioxide or nutrients. So since the blood is inefficient because it's in a completely stressed state, the pressure has to increase because the blood sucks. It's not good at doing its job. Mm-hmm. So the reason that these, the mistletoe or the garlic or the cayenne pepper work is because they're going to detox the body a little bit, give certain nutrients into the body, get the body out of some type of chemical stressor so the red blood cells can start to break open and hold more oxygen. Mm. That's how it actually works. But I mean, you could actually see this on a live blood cell analysis. Wow. So I get somebody in stress, I'll say, come on, man, let's take a picture, see what your blood looks like. And, within 3-4 days, within 5 days, this guy's blood, you could see individual cells. It was brilliant. Wow. But he did 3 chelations and 5 nutrient IVs.
Amazing. Wow. So if you guys are watching, if you guys are watching this, I'm sure tag a friend of someone who maybe has a low immune system or someone you might think would be interested in this. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or anywhere like that, let them know about what we're doing here, and they might be interested in learning how to boost their immune system. There are things that people can take. And so I'm going to share with you a few that I've come across over the years. And I'm curious what you gave Sarah, your wife, recently. But there's some classic ones like beta-glucans from mushrooms. There's hundreds of studies showing a boost in the immune system. Oregano oil, like you mentioned before. Golden seal and berberine are really, really great. And you recommend a whole food vitamin C, Doc, which is incredible as well. Olive leaf is another really tremendous thing to take, either for prevention or if you're coming down with something. Iodine, selenium, these types of minerals like this, garlic, oregano oil, zinc, if you're worried about, a cough or spray or something like that. These are things that people can take, but you're not deficient in these, and that's not the reason why you have caught the flu or have a chronic disease, right, Doc?
Absolutely. And those are things that you should be taking on a regular basis. Sarah takes tons of vitamins, so she's got really, really good nutrients. Knowing that she was emotionally and physically stressed from all the traveling that she's been doing lately,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, I like traveling, but
Yeah.
it beats her up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I did hot lemon water. Why? Because that heat will help rush blood to the throat, rush blood to the sinuses, help more blood flow. The lemon is get vitamin C, and that's going to also alkalinize the system. Then I did some mountain oregano, which I got from a Greek friend, and I just crushed up the leaves and boiled it and steeped it. And while it was boiling, I had her breathe in the steam. So she did that 3 or 4 times, and I poured the liquid in a cup, and she drank a couple of glasses of that. And then she was back up to 2-3 bowel movements, and bundled her up so she could sweat at nighttime. And now, dear, what percentage are you better? She says 80%.
Wow.
I'd say 75, but
That's so cool. Yeah. So you're essentially giving the body an offer, right? We could all give our bodies like an offer, and that is either you can get on top of something yourself. You can let the immune system do its job and just do nothing, which is a good option. Or you could give it a pharmaceutical, which is like some sort of chemical poison that's going to cause all kinds of liver issues and liver damage. Or you could give it another offer, which is, hey, let me work with you and give you something like what you're doing with Sarah, and working with the body and creating more heat so the body can work as a systemic unit in order to heal itself. And that's working with the body instead of against it with pharmaceuticals, right?
Mm-hmm. Let food be your medicine and medicine be your food.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, who said that? That was thousands of years ago, right?
Who said that? I don't
He's
remember.
still right. And let's also first do no harm.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that the doctors today are missing.
Mm-hmm.
Your immune system is too complex. So everything that you do that helps your body improve is good. Anything you do that limits your body's ability to reproduce cells or is poisonous is not good. If you do more not good, you end up with a lack of ease or a dis-ease.
Mm-hmm.
If you do more good than not good, and I'm not going to say bad, because how many people will have, an adult beverage, okay? And when people ask me, I'll say, well, dark beer is a little bit healthier. Try and get organic beer because they're using glyphosates in the wheat, but still, where no one's sate. Everybody's going to be exposed to certain toxins. Just do more stuff. Like if you build cells faster than you tear them down, you have health. If you break down cells faster than you build up, you have a disease. And so every time, and people say, well, what can I do? What vitamin? What can I chelate? Every time you choose the broccoli, okay, over the burger, you're gonna choosing stuff that'll chelate, get you nutrients, and detox your system. So organic plant-based diet, exercising every day, deep sleep every night. I mean, look at the 5 stressors video that we did. That's just concise and brilliant.
Mm-hmm. So Doc, there's so part of our training inside the Extreme Health Academy, and for those that don't know, we're running a special today. So if you are interested, if you want to take this knowledge and go further with your health, and not just further in terms of like overcoming something that you have right now, because we all have sort of our health challenges, right? Like we all have things that we're working on and trying to get better at, but then there's a level to where you can get back up to baseline. But then it's like we're pushing the envelope beyond that. How long can we live? Is it possible to live to 120, to 110, to 80, 90, 120? Is it possible to live that long with strong hormones, lots of energy, pooping 3 times a day, sex drive, everything working well? Is that possible? And that's what we talk about inside the Extreme Health Academy. And Doc, I'm going to show our immune system course. So if you're watching right now or listening, the place to go is extremhealthacademy.com/immune, IMMUNE. And there is a coupon that's going to be there for 24 hours. And it's only there for 24 hours, and you have to use it. Otherwise, it won't be available. But Doc, I'm going to bring up the course really quickly that we did all about the immune system. So can you see the screen right there, Doc?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So the first part of the course is understanding the immune system. And it's what is the immune system? You go into changing belief systems. the 4 components of the immune system and the immune response. And there's so much information here. I mean, this is a multi-hour course that it probably should be taught in most schools, right, Doc?
Wow.
I would imagine.
I remember that. That's what we filmed at in the studio that Michael built.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing?
Oh, yeah. That's a bitchin' course. That took a long time. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So here you have like what can disrupt the immune system. You have vaccines as the primary disruption. You have the role of medications and what they do, environmental and dietary toxins. And here's some immune boosting solutions. You talk about what's your goal, understanding your microbiome, the key to a healthy immune system, exercise, sleep, and 6 specific nutrients that people can take, as well as emotional health and immune system health. And we didn't even talk about that, Doc, the emotional spiritual connection, right? It's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, wow.
It's amazing. Look at all these videos you did. And so this is a multi-part course that you go into, cancer, HIV, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, autoimmune diseases, ear infections, Lyme disease, MRSA and other antibiotic-resistant infections, as well as lung disorders, celiac disease. Talk about something that's on the rise. Candida, fungal infections, and fibromyalgia. And this is, if you go back to the first page of the course, it's 32 videos, Doc, 5 hours of content. Amazing, right?
Wow. Yeah, that's about the most complete course you can get. And where else are you going to get that information in that? I don't want to say concise, but it is. It took 5 hours. Well, it's actually probably 20 hours worth of filming, but it took 5 hours to go through all of that. Yeah. So this is it, man.
Yeah, it's amazing because people are looking for, since the early 1970s, or in fact, in 1980, Nixon declared the war on cancer in 71, right? Since then, $1.3 billion have been spent on that just in the first 10 years. In 1981, there should have been a cure for cancer, but we're still looking, right? We're still trying to figure out where's the cure for cancer. Well, the cure for any disease is a healthy immune system, like we talked about at the beginning. That's the cure for all disease, isn't it?
It is. That's it.
Yeah, it's
so strengthen the immune system.
Yeah, so if you guys want access to this course, and there's actually 21 other courses that we've done inside the Academy, let me just show these. I think you guys might be really interested in these. Check these out. These are all the courses, and we release a new course every single month. There's one on dental health, which is absolutely massive, that people don't realize the dental connection to our overall systemic health. There's one on blood pressure, the immune system, financial health, which is really cool because talk about a stressor. Sacred sexuality with Miss Jaya from one of your cruises. We have the best skin ever course, the healthy bones course, the liver rescue course, the whole body restorative exercises. This was a good one because you show people how to do certain exercises for their physiology. If you're having trouble sleeping, deep sleep mastery, adrenal recovery, diabetes, heart health, autoimmune diseases, cancer, hormones, invincible immunity, digestion, where to go when you get started, the 3 stressors course, your nervous system course, and again, a yoga course for people that are interested in yoga. There's over 640 hours of content inside of our Academy, and it is just an incredible resource that, Doc, I think should be taught in all schools. I mean, imagine if people lived these courses, there would be no need for healthcare. It's be over.
Wow. Yeah. There wouldn't be a well baby checkup. Okay.
No.
Oh God. This is the only avenue now because they're shutting down. Like, people talk about Patreons on YouTube. Man, this is that whole avenue of education through YouTube is being wiped out and censored. Facebook is being wiped out and censored. Everything. And so it's only sites like yours is going to be the way to disseminate this information for everyone. What does it cost per month to join?
It is right now. It may go up in the future, but right now it's $19.99 a month. And so, I mean, talk about an investment in your health and education. Jim Rohn, I loved him, and he said, we don't need motivation and we don't need inspiration, because if you do that, we'll just have a bunch of motivated idiots. We need education. This is what we need, education and learning, because it's so fascinating to know that if you have education and you know what your options are, if you're ever in that situation where a doctor comes and tells you that your body has come down with a certain disease, you know what your options are, and you know of other modalities that are stronger than what he's trying to sell you on. Then he can't control you and manipulate you through fear to get you to do something you don't want to do. So it's all about education, isn't it, Doc?
Big time. And you were right on, man. It is a fear-based manipulative system. Take this, you're going to die. High blood pressure is the silent killer. Diabetes runs in your family. It's genetic. We see a lot of this in your family. And that's totally not based in science. There's a complete difference between genetic and genetic expression. But in order to take a toxic product, you have to instill fear.
Yeah, and I figure $19.99 a month is so worth it, because most people will spend more than that on Starbucks or on a Netflix subscription or something like that. But the other benefit, too, of becoming a member is our community forum. And our community is an incredible place. We have thousands and thousands of people helping each other out, sharing what works, what doesn't work. And we've got this amazing community of people just like you guys who want to heal themselves, who want to experience abundant health and want to overcome their health challenges. And we're all sharing ideas, and we all have different systems. We all study different things. And there's some amazing things that you could become friends with somebody and ask them your health question, and they'll answer it. And so we've got this awesome community of over, we've got right now 7,500 posts and 1,400 topics, people talking about cleansing, detox, health protocols, recipes, home remedies, pregnancy, fasting, all kinds of amazing, amazing content. And this is the community side of what we're doing. And I think it's super important, isn't it, Doc, to have a community? Because I think for me, and probably for you, you don't really know, you have friends, but they're not involved in this kind of world of health like we are, and you feel isolated and alone because you're the only one in your family with this crazy health mindset. But there's other people like you out there that want to help, and having a community is so key, isn't it?
Oh, buddy, it's vital, because you're doing stuff that's against the television, and that's the great teacher. Because you might be choosing for yourself, which again, independent thought is not promoted today. And if you're thinking independently about your health and you have questions to, is this method really effective? Man, in the community, you find multiple people who've gone through the same condition, found solutions through things that are different than what are popularly advertised. I mean, you're talking to real people that have had real diseases that have really recovered.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing, right? Yeah, and I'm in there just about every single day. I would say probably at least 6 days a week, and I've posted over 1,600 times in there and sharing everything that I've come across and learned in my research, and presenting ideas and options for people that people aren't going to hear from their medical doctors. They just don't share this kind of stuff, and this is what's so great about community,
Absolutely, my friend.
Yeah,
You're changing the world.
Thanks, Doc. Yeah, so you guys, if you want to join and check out what everything's, what we're talking about, I highly encourage you to do that. And we're offering right now for 24 hours a free 14-day trial. And I highly encourage you to join. Come say hello in the forums and say hello and tag me so I know that you just joined. And there's a free 14-day trial. And if you go to extremehealthacademy.com/immune, IMMUNE, you can get access to that 24-hour coupon code that will give you a 14-day free trial. So I highly encourage you guys to do that, and that way you can make friends, start embarking on the courses. And there's a getting started course, Doc, that you did. It was like a foundations course. Remember that was a couple years ago that you did that? Incredible.
Yeah. That's, what, send me all of the info, the data that you have on the cost of healthcare. I'm going to do a talk on that Tuesday.
Oh, cool.
And I'll send everybody over. Is the code still Bergman 14?
Yeah,
to sign up?
Yeah, Bergman 14 will get you a free 2-week trial, and as well as Immune, Immune, and that one's available for 24 hours. So come and join us, guys, and let us know in the forums what you think about the Academy and how we're helping you, because this is sort of my mission in life, and you as well, Doc, is helping as many people as we possibly can. Because I don't know about you guys watching wherever you are, but I'm a little tired of seeing my parents come down with diseases, friends dying. I have a 45-year-old friend who just suffered a stroke on 2 weeks ago. Suffered a stroke, and people are getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And my desire is to present options that help people and to show a different way. And that's, I know, the same mission you have too, isn't it?
Got to make a difference. We're not here that long.
Yeah.
100, maybe 120 tops.
Yep.
You know, yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this webinar on immune system, and come and join us inside the Academy. I'm telling you guys, send this to a friend, tag a friend, share it with a friend, and come and join us. There's a free 14-day trial at extremehealthacademy.com/immune, and I would love to meet you in the forums and say hello and help you in any way I possibly can. That's why I do what I do. And Doc, you're amazing. Thanks so much for being here, my friend.
God bless you, my brother. That was fun.
Awesome. Thanks, Doc. Have a great rest of your day, okay?
See you, man. Bye.
Okay, bye. So there you go, guys. Make sure to join the Extreme Health Academy. I'm telling you guys, it's a ton of fun. I would love to see you in there, and we share so much information that is life-changing. So come on, say hi. Grab that free 14-day trial. Join up and let me know what you think. Tag me and let me know. And I'm here to help you in any way we possibly can. So go to extremehealthacademy.com/immune, IMMUNE, and that way you can get access to the free 14-day trial. Love you all very much, and hopefully we'll see you again next month, as long as YouTube doesn't shut us down and deplatform us and take our videos away. And as an FYI, for our radio show, Extreme Health Radio, and Dr. Bergman, we are behind the scenes slowly migrating all of our content into the Academy. So everything is going to be available there, and probably there only at some point. So fingers crossed they don't shut our accounts down, but come and join us. Love to see you in the forums. Love you all. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will see you hopefully in the forums at extremehealthacademy.com/immune. All right, guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you